Let's get to the Packer game. We'll start off with the passing and whatnot. As you can see, if you're watching, horrible game. In fact, let's just go back here to the original. And like I said, we're going to fly through this because I don't like covering bad things for a long time. One of the worst grades I've ever seen for an offense, especially an offense that had 25 people playing. 0 players graded in the 70s. 0. Highest graded player was Luke Tenuta with a 69.6. We could certainly round up, but I don't feel like it. Only 11 players graded at 60 or higher out of 25, which leaves us with 14 that were below a 60 and 5 that were below a 50, including 3 that were below a 40. Stop calling me, I'm busy. Some general specifics here. Highest graded, Malik Heath and Luke Tenuta, 69.3 and 69.6. Please hold. All right, pardon the second interruption. Kind of forgot where we left off there, but Malik Heath at the top. A whole bunch of average. Let's go through the negatives here. We'll go through the specifics in a minute, but 50s and below, starting with the highest to the lowest. Andre Dillard, Emmanuel Wilson, Jalen Wayne, Ellis Merriweather, Julian Hicks, Dimitri Stanley, Royce Newman, Jacob Monk, Michael Pratt. In the 40s, you have tight end Joel Wilson, and you have running back Nate McCrary. Not hard to figure that one out. Then in the 30s, Grant DeBose, Sean Clifford, and Tyler Davis. Not any name that you'd like to see down there. I think a lot of us have become disillusioned with Sean Clifford a little bit, but you don't expect that bad of a performance. Grant DeBose was on the top of the mountain. That's a hard fall for him. And Tyler Davis, I don't know if he's ever necessarily been a fan favorite, but the team certainly likes him. That's a rough outing. And none of them had super limited opportunities. Tyler Davis only 13, but still, 37 run blocking grade in your 10 snaps. Almost all you did was run blocking, and you were awful at it. That's not great. All right, let's run through some of the specifics here. Go over to the passing. Michael Pratt had a 54 passing grade. Sean Clifford, 39 passing grade. Looking at some of the advanced statistics here. 0 big-time throws for either of them. They each had 1 turnover-worthy play. One of them actually did get turned over for Sean Clifford. That also represents a higher percentage because there were less attempts by Clifford, surprisingly. Average depth of target, Sean Clifford was 10.9. Pratt just 5.3. A lot of dink and dunk for Pratt. Adjusting completion percentage is higher for Pratt at 73 compared to 70. Time to throw, Pratt obviously shorter passes came out faster, 259 compared to 290. NFL passer rating 67.7 for Pratt, 30.4 for Sean Clifford. Heading over to the receivers, looking at receiving grades. Highest, Nate McCrary at 69. Then it's Malik Heath, then Ben Sims, Samori Toure, Ellis Merriweather, Bo Melton. Down into the 50s, Emmanuel Wilson, Jalen Wayne, Dimitri Stanley, Joel Wilson with a 49, Grant DeBose 38 passing grade. I'm not repeating the grades, by the way. These are different grades of receiving, not overall grades. We didn't really go over any general statistics because we missed yesterday, but nobody really stood out. Malik Heath was our top receiver. He had the most receptions with 3, the most yards with 22. I know it's preseason, so it gets spread out a lot more, but that's not fantastic. Highest passer rating when targeted, 2 over 100. Samori Toure, 102.1. Ben Sims, 108.3. Moving over to the rushing, which was a severe problem in this game. Obviously, PFF didn't just put it all on the offensive line, although that obviously wasn't great. But the highest rushing grade comes from quarterback Michael Pratt, which is never a good thing. Ellis Merriweather, who I thought actually was pretty decent. I was at one run in particular we all probably remember where he just smoked a guy. Actually went out of the game, I believe. But he had a 58 grade, which is 2.3 yards per attempt. So averaging it out was pretty rough. Emmanuel Wilson had a 55 grade, 3.2 yards per attempt. Sean Clifford had a 50 rushing grade, despite an 11 yards per attempt with 1 carry for 11 yards. And Nate McCrary was at the bottom. We just picked up Nate McCrary. I have a feeling he's not long for this team. 3 carries, 3.7 yards, and a fumble, 40.1 rushing grade, and obviously very bad fumble grade here. Getting over to the blocking, this will round out the offense here. On the left tackle side, Andre Dillard and Caleb Jones actually did really, really well. They didn't grade out well overall because, again, PFF for some reason really seems to weight run blocking quite high. Andre Dillard had a 46 grade and a run blocking and an 84 pass blocking grade. I mean, I guess that kind of averages out. I know that's not how they do the math, but it kind of averages out. But still, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm perfectly fine with it. I don't give a crap. I mean, an 84 pass blocking grade is actually quite good. We'll get into more of the over the 2 weeks things, but I'm pretty sure, Dillard has been elite so far. And to be fair, he has been in the preseason forever. His preseason pass blocking grades are incredible. But 88.3 and 84.3 over the 2 weeks with a 90.1 pass blocking grade. He's not losing the job right now, that's for sure. Not that he has one, but as far as being a legit swing tackle option, he's in there. Caleb Jones also performed really well. 83 pass blocking grade, 55 run blocking, so not quite as high pass blocking, but quite a bit higher in run blocking. And then the guy that was out there the most, Kadeem Telford, had a pretty rough outing. He did last week too. They gave him the most opportunities again. The Packers seem to really want to ride that horse. They do that all the time. There's always this guy that never grades out very well. The Packers always really lean into him. I don't know what it is. I'm guessing it's just that they have a really firm understanding of the offense and the coaches just obsess over it. But he's just not been good at all. He gave up 2 hurries, 2 total pressures. Both of them were hurries in this game. He's one of 3 that gave up 2 pressures. In the left guard spot, we also had 3 guys. Lecitus Smith actually did pretty well, actually the best of all the left guards. 75 pass blocking grade, 57 run blocking, so average run blocking, pretty good pass blocking. Jacob Monk was a 70 pass blocking, 50 run blocking. Royce Newman, 72 pass blocking, 50 run blocking. I feel like everybody had pretty much the exact same grades just across the board. Good pass. I mean, it's typical Packers. Really good pass blocking, terrible run blocking. It's pretty standard. You know, it's funny, too, because people are like, oh, why aren't you worried about the offensive line? The run blocking is terrible. This has been every season that I've been covering the Packers ever. We don't have good run blockers. It doesn't happen. At center, Jacob Monk took 13 snaps there. He actually played all 3 interior spots. Most of it was at left guard, then center, then right guard. But at center, I'm not going to go over his grades again, same grades. Lecitus Smith, same thing. He played left guard and center, and Sean Ryan only played center, which is really, really interesting. He, as far as I know, was never considered a center until this year, and now he's only taking center snaps. Sounds to me like they're 100% really leaning into that. I'm guessing because they don't like their other center options, including Monk and Smith. Potentially, I don't know, but this seems like a desperation thing to just say you are going to really learn this. He got the most opportunities at center, maybe the second most snaps of anybody at any position outside of Travis Glover at right tackle. So that's quite telling. And he had a 70 pass blocking grade and a 58 run blocking grade, which really is not terrible. I mean, honestly, if those are regular season numbers, I'm not really mad at it. Everyone's going to be annoyed by this. It's just how it goes. And it's not even just the Packers. I mean, that's most teams are just not as good at run blocking. Right guard, again, Jacob Monk, 11 snaps. Luke Tenuta took 17 snaps only at right guard. He had an 81 pass blocking grade, 65 run blocking, probably our best run blocker of the day. Speaks to why he was one of the highest graded players and, just the only guy that really was able to do anything, and it really wasn't that good. And then Royce Newman, who we already talked about, he took most of his snaps at right guard. He took a ton of snaps. I mean, 31 at right guard and 28 at left guard. He pretty much just didn't leave the field. If you look at total blocking snaps, he was number 1. But we already covered his grade. Then we have right tackle. Kadeem Telford, we already talked about over at left tackle, but at Travis Glover, 48 snaps purely at right tackle, 71 pass blocking, 57.9 run blocking. I mean, that's like everybody. That's Tenuta, Caleb Jones, Travis Glover, Lecitus Smith, Sean Ryan, Andre Dillard, Emmanuel Wilson, Royce Newman, Jacob Monk. Everybody graded out essentially that way. Even some of the non-offensive linemen graded out that way. Emmanuel Wilson had an 80 pass blocking grade, 60 run blocking, mostly because they don't do a lot of run blocking, but just pretty much everybody. The other grades that might be of some interest, Ben Sims, The tight end had a 35 pass blocking grade, which is obviously terrible. Ellis Merriweather, who's trying to get a job as a halfback, he only had one attempt, but they gave him a 5 pass blocking grade, which is pretty rough. I mean, just across the board on run blocking, though, I mean, the span is not that wide. Tyler Davis was terrible in run blocking, which we already covered. Andre Dillard was also below a 50, but high 40s, but the range is basically 50 to 65. I mean, it's a very narrow range of not great to average as far as run blocking goes. Nobody's good at it right now. Hopefully we have some starters that can actually do it. But let's get over to defense real quick. Since we already took our 2 breaks, we'll fly through this as fast as we can here. Much better results on defense, although not perfect. Start with the negative first. Below a 60. Tyron Hopper, which probably surprises some people, but they did grade him out well on run defense. We'll get there. Eric Wilson, James Esther, Kitano Ladapo, Spencer Wagee, Lucas Van Ness, and Christian Young. Kalen King and Zach Morton were in the 40s, which I'm sad about King, but I understand it. Raylan Goforth, 33. LJ Davis, 28. I mean, this guy just stays at the bottom, LJ Davis. I don't understand how he even made it this long. He had a 29 grade last week, a 28 grade this week. I mean, that's as brutal as you can get. On the positive side, going a strict 70 line, although I tell you what, I want Evan Williams in here. With a 69.1, Evan Williams. Then you had Jermon Green, Corey Ballantyne, Aaron Mosby, Jonathan Ford, Colby Wooden, and Christian Welch, all in the 70s. And then Chris Russell Jr. with an 80.4 and Benny Sapp with an 85.9. Kind of important for Benny Sapp. He's been kind of a hanger-on for a long time. He's one of those guys you look at and just go, we can get rid of him. Very much needed. I don't know if that's going to save his job, but he definitely needed that. Run defense specifically, the only real bad grade was Zach Morton, 43.5. I know, I believe he's the one that got the safety, so people are going to be shocked by it, but whatever. His run defense and tackling grades were considered terrible. Obviously, they gave him a really good pass rush grade because he had 3 attempts and got a sack. It happened to be in the end zone. On the positive side of run defense, Tyron Hopper, Benny Sapp, Robert Rochelle, Chris Russell, and Christian Welch, all graded in the 70s. Everybody else kind of in between 50, 60. Tackling grades, the really bad ones, Raylan Goforth in the 40s, and then the putrid grades, Oladapo, 29, Bullard, 26 is real bad to see. I mean, Zach Morton, 25, Kalen King, 25. A lot of really good tackling grades, though. This is really uncharacteristic of any team, but especially, I mean, it's like everybody else. There was almost no, 60s, so 69 or higher. Spencer Wagee, Odemegwu, Deslin Alexander, Kingsley Enagbare, Brevin Allen, Brenton Cox, Colby Wooden, Aaron Mosby, Corey Ballantyne, LJ Davis, Jermon Green, Christian Young, Benny Sapp, Chris Russell, Evan Williams, Robert Rochelle, Eric Wilson, Christian Welch, and Anthony Johnson Jr., all with good tackling grades. Anthony Johnson basically at an 80. Pass rush, positive grades, Zach Morton, Jonathan Ford, Aaron Mosby. The only one below a 50 was Spencer Wagee. Coverage grades, some of the negatives, we'll go below a 50 just to save some time. Kalen King with a 44, Goforth 44, Christian Young 43, LJ Davis 28. On the positive side, Ballantyne 70, Benny Sapp 78. Pass rush, Mosby, Morton, Carl Brooks, Brevin Allen, Lucas Van Ness, and Kalen King, all each with a pressure in the game. Of that, let's see, Lucas Van Ness had 12 pressures, so it's under 10%, but you're looking at about a pressure. If you get to 2, it's really high. If it's at 1, it's a little low because there weren't that many attempts. Carl Brooks also had 13 attempts, Aaron Mosby 11, so it's about what you expect. Zach Morton 1 on 3 attempts, Brevin Allen 1 on 4 attempts, Kalen King 1 on 3 attempts. Much more impressive. Then you got Colby Wooden had 2 pressures on 10 attempts. It's obviously very high. Kingsley Enagbare had 3 on 10 attempts, and then Brenton Cox just wrecking stuff. 5 pressures, including a sack, on 17 attempts. That's 1 in 3 almost. That's, we're at 30% for him. That's really, really good. Sacks from Zach Morton, Brenton Cox, and Brevin Allen each. 0 hits in the game. Let's see. Stops, which are tackles that are a negative play for the offense. I'm not going to go through everybody because there was a ton that got at least 1. I love seeing it, by the way. It's really impressive. The tackling and the stops. Don't usually see this quantity. But Colby Wooden had 2, Christian Welch had 3, and Tyron Hopper with 4. Again, our eyes were not deceiving us. He made, not only was he good in run defense, not only was he solid in tackling, he did have 1 missed attempt, which is why he was only at 64.5. But he had 10 tackles, 2 of them being assists. But the fact is, 4 of those 10 tackles were high-impact tackles, big plays. So we weren't wrong to be happy with his performance, I don't think. I think some of the coverage was a little bit lacking, but we'll get there. Forced fumbles, 0. Getting into coverage, the most targeted was Tyron Hopper, targeted 5 times. All 5 were caught for 44 yards, 103.3 coverage grade when targeted. Not spectacular, that's for sure, but also not the most devastating thing. It's kind of interesting because you would have expected that to maybe be a better part of his game because he was described anyways as this pure athlete that's just not a very good linebacker. He's just fast is what he is. He ends up being a really good run defender. Anyways, we'll see. Plenty of time for development there. Next most targeted was L.J. Davis. 5 targets, only 1 caught, but 0 pass breakups. So we must have just been really lucky with none of those getting caught. Kalen King, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown. The touchdown probably hurt him quite a bit on the grades and stats and whatnot. Whatever. Plus 40 yards is kind of a lot to give up. Eric Wilson, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 14 yards. Raylan Goforth, 2 targets, 1 reception, but for 0 yards. Javon Bullard, 1 target, 1 reception, 4 yards. Corey Ballantyne, 1 target, 115. Christian Young, 117, and a touchdown given up. Oladapo, 1 target, 0 receptions. Benny Sapp, 1 target, 0 receptions, and a pass breakup. That's what you're hoping to see because then you're the reason that happened. Christian Welch, 1 target, 1 reception, and a pick. Let's go. Robert Rochelle, 1 target, 1 reception, 23 yards. Finally, special teams. Why did I do that? Go back. Special teams. Going to be a lot of guys here. We'll start with the negative first. Doesn't actually look like anything was super horrible. Lowest graded player was Joel Wilson, who had a 56.2, and a lot of positives. If you've been listening for a while, usually, especially for the Packers who don't have good special teams units, generally, there's not hardly anybody up here. Now, special teams, it's preseason, so it probably has an impact, but Mosby with a 70, Brenton Cox 71, Zane Anderson 71, Ellis Merriweather 73, Ben Sims 73, Eric Wilson 74, Grant DeBose 77, Christian Young 72. Of course, we don't need to check the field goals. I will for fun. Greg Joseph 0 for 1 on his 47-yard kick. Kick returns, Emmanuel Wilson was given a 55.8 grade. He had his 1 kick return for 29 yards. Dimitri Stanley, 54.7. He had a 59.5 grade on kick returns, 3 returns, 71 yards. And then his punt return, he had 1 return with 1 muffed punt. I don't know how this isn't lower, but there you go. Stanley did not really do himself any favors. Anyways, I'm going to leave you guys with that. You have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you